Emergency services in Monmouth County, New Jersey fielded 3 911 calls on November 20th, 2018. The first came around 3:33 a.m. The caller lived in Colts Neck Township, an upper-class hub for some wealthy celebrities like Bruce Springsteen, Queen Latifah, and Jon Stewart. About an hour from New York City, Colts Neck combines the privacy of expansive ranches with easy access to the Big Apple. It's the last place you'd expect to hear 5 gunshots at 3 a.m. But alas, a worried Colts Neck resident called 911 and asked if people were allowed to hunt at night. The operator said they weren't and asked if he had heard gunshots. Yes, he had. 6 pops, 5 in quick succession, pop, 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 then a 6th after a slight delay. Another neighbor confirmed the story, saying he heard about 4 to 5 shots fired, but the responding officers couldn't figure out where they were coming from and left empty-handed. About 90 minutes later, another 911 call came in about a house fire in Ocean Township, about 20 minutes from Colts Neck. Firefighters arrived at a massive home on Tilton Drive to find Paul Caneiro, his wife, and their 2 daughters sitting in his Porsche SUV in the driveway. They quickly doused the flames and everyone was safe. Well, everyone except the family turtle. But this isn't the story about dead turtles. No, this is the alleged story of a greedy older brother, a successful younger brother, and how money can tear the closest families apart. Hi, I'm Chris. Thanks for watching True Crime Recaps. The third 911 call came in shortly after noon when another man in Colts Neck discovered yet another mansion on fire about 20 minutes away from Paul Caneiro's place. The caller was a neighbor's landscaper, but he saw a lot more than overgrown weeds and garden snakes that afternoon. He was close enough to the neighboring house to spot a body on the lawn. The 911 operator asked the man to walk over to the body to help out, but all he found was a bloodbath. Dead on the ground was Kieth Caneiro, Paul's younger brother by 1 year. His sprawling Colts Neck mansion was on fire and had been for some time. The worst part? His family was still inside. It took firefighters hours to calm the blaze. There was no way anybody could survive that much smoke inhalation, let alone the flames. When they finally went in, they discovered a more grisly sight. Inside were the dead bodies of Kieth's wife, Jennifer, and their 2 children, 11-year-old Jesse and 8-year-old Sophia. Jennifer was shot in the head and stabbed, while both children suffered stab wounds of their own. Whoever killed the family set the house on fire before they left. Autopsies on Jesse and Sophia revealed that smoke inhalation was a contributing cause of death, meaning the children were still alive when the house burned down. Reports indicate that Sophia had it the worst. An increased white blood cell count suggests she suffered extensively before succumbing to smoke inhalation and blood loss. Off the bat, it looked like a murder-suicide, but Kieth had 4 gunshot wounds to the back of his head. You don't kill your family, set your house on fire, then shoot yourself 4 times in the back of the skull. Did Jennifer do it? Well, the same logic still applies. All signs pointed to quadruple homicide. The 5 gunshots also lined up with the first 911 call. Monmouth County Police were looking at 2 house fires, 5 gunshots, 4 dead bodies, and 1 story that didn't add up. Kieth and Paul Caneiro grew up on Staten Island, New York, where they both met and married their wives. They were close growing up. Paul, the oldest, Kieth, the middle child, and another brother named Corey, who was 7 years younger than Paul. At face value, Kieth was the most successful of the 3. He fell in love with computers and was so infatuated that he worked as a janitor for free in a computer shop while moonlighting at Burger King and McDonald's in high school. He began a tech consulting company called Square One and ran things on his own in the early days. Business boomed, and according to a 2001 business profile, Kieth said, "If I worked 10 days a week, I would never be able to finish the projects that I had." He needed help, so he brought his brother Paul on as a minority partner in the company, giving him a 10% stake. The Brooklyn-based company had just hit big with a major deal installing computer networks for Citibank. They were on the verge of making millions. And they did. Money poured in and the brothers expanded their business ventures. They bought a pest control company called EchoStar Pest Management, which they split 50-50. The businesses shared office space in Asbury Park, New Jersey, famous for its beautiful beaches and close proximity to New York City. Kieth focused his time and energy on Square One while Paul managed Echo Star. But while Kieth was a hard worker, Paul was greedy. Money went missing from both businesses around the same time Paul got in a bad car accident. The wreck left him with a limp and constant back pain, causing him to file for disability. And so he could claim the payments, his wife collected his cushy $225,000 salary. Whether or not Kieth made that decision to help his brother, we can't say for sure. By 2018, Square One wasn't doing so well anymore, and now a shell of its former self, Kieth told Paul and Corey about his plans to sell one of the businesses. In an email sent to Corey and 2 other business associates one day before his house burned to the ground, Kieth also said he was stopping payments to Paul's wife. His brother wouldn't be getting any more payouts from him until he discovered the source of the missing money. $90,000 worth of missing money. But he and his family wouldn't live long enough to do any more digging. After his daughter's death, Jennifer's father filed a lawsuit against Paul. He claims his daughter knew Paul stole the money as far back as April 2018. It wasn't some big secret. He took it right out of Jesse and Sophia's college fund, thinking nobody would notice. Paul wasn't a good scam artist. He wasn't good at murder or starting fires either, allegedly. When firefighters arrived at Paul's house after the early morning fire, they discovered red gasoline cans sitting in his driveway next to his other Porsche SUV. They also found 3 more gas cans in a shed behind his house. Now, who the heck keeps that much spare gasoline on hand? Things got more suspicious when Paul said he turned off his home security cameras because they were interfering with the Wi-Fi. But the cameras didn't use Wi-Fi. They were hardwired. The footage that did exist confirmed that Paul entered the garage and turned off the system around 1:30 a.m. on November 20th. Thankfully, surveillance footage from Paul's neighbors pieced together a solid timeline. One neighbor's camera caught a white Porsche SUV, believed to be Paul's, driving out of the neighborhood around 2:07 a.m. and returning 2 hours later at 4:08 a.m. Another neighbor's CCTV camera confirmed the white SUV came and went from Paul's home. Piecing all of that together, here's what the state of New Jersey believes happened in the early morning hours of November 20th, 2018. Paul turns off the security cameras at 1:30 a.m. Paul leaves his house at 2:07 a.m. 2 Colts Neck residents report 5 gunshots around 3:30 a.m. Paul returns home at 4:07 a.m. and sets his own house on fire. Firefighters responded to a fire at Paul's home at 5 a.m. A landscaper reports a fire at Kieth's house around 12:30 p.m. Investigators find Kieth's body shot 5 times on the front lawn along with the bodies of his deceased family members. 24 hours after Kieth's family was brutally murdered, Monmouth County Police took Paul into custody. On November 23rd, they got a search warrant to canvass his house with blood-sniffing canine units. They found traces of blood in the basement next to a plastic bin filled with blood-stained clothes and a latex glove. They also found parts of a 9mm handgun in one of Paul's cars, including a suppressor and night vision attachments. They sent the clothes to the lab where they found an unspent 9mm round tucked into the fold. It was labeled GFL-10-9X19, the same bullets found next to Kieth's body. 5 days later, DNA evidence came back regarding the stains on Paul's clothes. It was Sophia's blood. Based on some of the most concrete evidence police could ask for, they officially charged Paul Caneiro with murdering his brother and his brother's family. Paul's lawyers issued a statement saying their client loved his brother and would never do such a thing. His trial was scheduled to begin in 2020, but the COVID-19 pandemic kept pushing the case back. On top of the murder, they also charged Paul with 2 counts of arson and claiming disability while working. Through it all, Paul has maintained his innocence and pleaded not guilty to all charges. Thing is, if both Kieth and his wife died, the trust funds they set up for their money would be controlled by Paul and Paul alone, according to app.com. Now that's a lot of possible motive, but as of October 2022, Paul hasn't officially been found guilty of any crimes. He has since abandoned his private defense attorneys, citing a conflict of interest in favor of a public defender. That conflict has never been divulged, but his trial has been delayed over and over, and you'll never believe why. It all comes down to the DNA. prosecutors are pointing to the match made by something called probabilistic genotyping to prove beyond a doubt that Paul did in his brother and his family. Apparently, this new technology can use samples that are too small for traditional DNA methods. It's very groundbreaking stuff, but as of summer 2022, Paul's lawyers say they need to know more about how the technology works so their experts can dispute it on the stand. But the company doesn't want to share the recipe for their secret sauce, which means Paul's murder trial has to wait until the lawyers decide who can and can't get the inside scoop on this brand new DNA technology. So as of November 2022, that's where the case stands now. But while we wait for this to go to trial, let us know what you think in the comments below. And that's your recap.
Thanks for hanging out with us today.
If you like getting all the crime in half the time, go ahead and tap that subscribe button and the bell so you never miss a story.
We're here Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, but don't go away. Catch up on more recaps right here, right now.
Until next time, take care.